It's December 2020, and I've headed to the hedonistic heartland of the Canary Islands, the unofficial party capital of Tenerife, Playa de las Américas. But with a global pandemic and a 10 p.m. curfew, it's all a little quiet. Playa de las Américas, located on the southwestern coast of Tenerife, is at the centre of the island's nightlife. Construction started in the 1960s, and by the 1990s it was a go-to destination for its nightlife. But, unless you're into surfing, not for its main beach, which is a mix of black sand, rocks and some pretty big waves. With the global effects of coronavirus hitting tourism hardest, in December 2020 the resort was quiet, with all the clubs closed, in part due to a nighttime curfew. Whilst the beach isn't great for sun worshippers, the resort, with so many tourists normally flocking here, is a good location from which to take trips to explore the island. The Night Skies Tenerife tour departs from Playa de las Américas and heads up into the mountains, stopping for dinner at a restaurant at about 600 metres elevation before climbing up to a viewing point some 1900 metres above sea level and high above the top of the clouds to watch the sun go down, accompanied by a glass of cava. Once sun has set, you drive a short distance back down the mountain to a viewpoint car park, where the tour guides set up a telescope and give a 90-minute guide to the night sky, including peering deep back into time and staring straight into another galaxy. The Teide tour sets out from Playa de las Américas and climbs quickly into the hills, passing through the county town of Arona before the first stop at a viewpoint high above the town centre. From there, it's a short drive to Villa Flor for a morning coffee break. From the viewpoint, it's possible to see the peaks of Volcano and Gran Canaria poking through the clouds in the distance. The tour continues climbing until you reach the edge of the supervolcano crater that Mount Teide is only a part of. After driving along the crater floor for a while, you stop at a viewpoint below the peak of Teide for views across the crater floor and the lunar-like landscape. Then it's back across the crater floor and round to the western side of the mountain and a viewpoint over both the volcano and out to the peaks of La Gomera and La Palma Islands, with, if you squint, El Herrero far on the horizon. From here, the tour descends back down the mountain, stopping at one final viewpoint before heading down to the town of Tamarán for lunch. After lunch, the final destination of the tour is a climb up to over 1,000 metres in altitude and then straight back down 500 metres in just over 4 kilometres of winding road to the hidden town of Masca. The town is surrounded on all sides by the walls of a former volcano. The only place it can be seen into is from the sea via a small gap in the rocks. The Round Island tour starts the ride up the coast to the cliffs of Los Gigantes, high sea cliffs that dominate the northwestern point of the island. Then, a climb up through the mountains, gaining over 1,000 metres in altitude before snaking our way back down the side of the cliffs, with a final road descending 500 metres in height over just a 1 kilometre wide stretch of mountain down into the town of Garachico. Garachico used to be one of the most important port cities in the Spanish Empire, but following a massive volcanic eruption in 1706, lava poured down into the bay, destroying much of the town and the harbour. You can still see the changes made when you look down on the stone arch that was once the entrance to the port, but is today well below the modern street level. A quick ride up the coast takes you to the town of Icod de Lodinos, home to possibly the oldest dragon tree in the world. This particular example is thought to be in excess of 1,000 years old and is today at the heart of a small botanical garden. Continuing north up the coast, and we reach La Orotava, home to some fine examples of Canarian balconies, and during the Christmas season, what surely must be one of the largest nativity scenes. The lunch stop for the day is in La Laguna, the former capital of the island and home to an impressive cathedral. From La Laguna, the tour turns south and heads down the coast to the town of Candelaria. In 1390, the local Huancha people found a holy image on the beach, which they transferred into the nearby cave. When the Spanish arrived in the 17th century, they decided that the image must be that of the Virgin Mary, turning the area into the centre of pilgrimage in the Canaries. Today, a large basilica is at the centre of the pilgrimage. Facing the basilica across the square stand the statues of the 9 Guanche kings who originally ruled Tenerife. The final stop of the day is just south of the main airport as we stop at the pleasant sandy beach of Playa del Medano with its own mini volcano at the water's edge. Playa de las Américas is located about 30 minutes by frequent bus from Tenerife Sur Airport, the largest on the island and second most important airport in the Canary Islands. It's linked to much of Europe with frequent flights from both scheduled and package airlines.